Okay, I'm going to show you how to turn a PowerPoint lesson that you've made for a class into an open educational resource that any other teacher can download and modify and use in their class. So the first thing that I'm going to do is open up a PowerPoint presentation that I've already done, and I'm going to review it to make it appropriate for other teachers to use. So the first thing that I see here is that I need to get rid of any identifying marks for the class that I have included on here that's not going to be helpful to another teacher. So the title of the class or the institution or the school or your name, all of those identifying marks need to be taken away. The next thing that I'm going to look at is I noticed that I don't have any learning outcomes yet, and those are pretty important for someone who's looking at this fresh. So I'm going to add a slide here to do that. So when I revise this, I'm going to make sure that I add learning outcomes here so that another teacher can understand how this can be used in their classroom. I also noticed that I need to add some information here about the intended audience, the level, the age range, and the teaching context for this particular lesson. So I'll make sure to add that information here as I'm doing my revisions. So now I'm going to do a quick overview of my slides to make sure that my content and my practice are balanced. So I see I have, interesting. I know this is about sentences too. So what I need to do here is add another slide that gives an overview of everything that's within this lesson so a teacher can easily see that. All right, so content and practice, making sure that they're balanced. So I see that here's content, more content, a key point, and then here I have a practice slide. So I have about 3 to 5 slides of content. Then I have a practice slide. Then I have another overview slide, some content, and then another practice slide, although I'm noticing that I used a different heading on this one, so I need to make sure that that is the same as the last one. And I'm also reviewing my language here to make sure that my language is helpful to any teacher across the world. So I don't want anything too specific or too culturally specific that it can't be used by somebody else. These look okay. This one also needs to be changed. And then I see I have 2 more slides of content here. However, I'm noticing that these examples here are too specific. They deal too much with my specific institution. So I'm going to have to change those so they're more appropriate to use across cultures and across time. So I have a number of content and practice slides. But what I'm missing at the very end is some kind of final assessment for students to understand if they understood most of the main points in this presentation. So I'm going to make sure that I add that as well. I also need to make sure that I add a Creative Commons license to this so it's clear to other teachers that they're able to download and change and use this as they'd like. And I also need to add metadata. Okay, so I'm going to point out my changes that I've made here. I've added my proficiency level, my suggested age range, and my teaching context. And you can also see that I've included my Creative Commons license. Down here it includes my name and the kind of Creative Commons license that I'm using, which is the CC BY 4.0. And I also have that link so that if anyone is unsure about what that license means, that they can go to that link and see what they're able to do with it. I have my learning outcomes that are clearly defined. I've also added, instead of using the pictures that I had here before, those were not Creative Commons images. I couldn't find any that I really liked, so I decided to just use an icon here. You can use icons in PowerPoint by going to Insert and choosing Icons. There's lots of different icons that you can use without any problems. I chose to do the same thing here. I added an icon here. For that page where I had examples that were too specific, I used some more general language here that would apply to other people outside of my specific situation and context. And then finally down here at the end, I have my final assessment for students. I have clear directions about what they need to do. And then in the next slide, I have my example sentences. And then on a final slide, I have the answers for students to check themselves. And so at this point, I say that this is pretty ready to go to make it available for other teachers to use as an open educational resource. So I would make sure that you save it. And to add your metadata, you're going to go to more options, and then underneath tags, you're going to add any words or phrases that you think a teacher might be searching for to find this kind of content. And so there are the tags, the metadata that I've included for this particular presentation, so that when teachers are looking for this, they can easily find it in their search. When you're choosing what file type to save your PowerPoint presentation as, I recommend using PPTX. This will make sure that any other teacher who downloads this file will be able to go ahead and edit it and change things in the way that works best for them. So I hope that this was helpful for you to make your PowerPoint lessons into open educational resources for other teachers to use. It's such a great thing to do, and I highly encourage you to do it.